boy, so one of my subs sent me this in DMs, and props to him for sending me a screenshot, because AdamFriended is a total wuss who blocks anyone who disagrees with his pathetically disconnected American idealism. And yes, I will be blunt and honest here, Fifis be damned. Now, this thread is to do with Russia and Ukraine. And for those of you who aren't aware, AdamFriended is a YouTuber who runs a show with Sitch, and they are both insufferably disconnected from power and political reality, outside of the American regime, that is. Actually, even inside it, come to think of it. And this is not my bias speaking here, by the way. Ask anyone who's watched them since the conflict kicked off. From myself to Aiden to Sargon. Pretty sure they had Dave Smith on as well, Jimmy Dore, the list goes on and on. Hell, they've had members of their own audience come and whoop them on that particular issue. And the reason is because Adam and Sitch are basically junkies, and their drug of choice is liberal democracy a la Americana utopianism. Particularly Adam, who is embarrassingly naive and ignorant of the world of culture, power, and politics, both in and outside of the American empire, actually. Hell, even Sargon said this to him. Although Sargon was a lot nicer than I am. His position of politics is literally just, well, liberal democracy is the greatest thing ever, and anything that isn't is bad, and therefore America is justified in turning anything that isn't that into that. These are the same people who think a king is a dictator. The power of the one is terrifying. Oh, but the morality of an enormous bloated bureaucracy with far more state power than a king could ever wield. Oh, that's so much better. The balance of power is totally real, and it could never be subverted or broken ever. You know, I could never understand the people who are so vehemently pro-America, thinks it's so great, yet they want to export that very same model that they think makes America great to the rest of the world, via the barrel of a gun. As if America's military apparatus is this benevolent thing that goes around the world and installs democracy because it's such a good boy, and has no other intentions whatsoever. Do you two actually understand that there's many people in the world who do not like America, particularly because you're so arrogant and up your own ass? They have this worldview that America is this angel that deserves the right to do whatever the hell it wants because of their own perceptions of moral superiority. They don't quite seem to understand cause and effect outside of this bubble. The cause and effect being, well, we can fuck around and do what we want just cause, and the effect is, yeah, other people around the world don't particularly like that. They don't like your regime, they don't like your arrogance, they don't like your plastic hollow consumerist-driven way of life, and they want to be left alone and you to fuck off. America is this big bully that sticks its fat fingers at everyone's faces and then acts surprised when someone bites it. So congratulations, Adam, you have the same foreign policy worldview as Nikki Haley. The neocons, at best. At worst, making the world safe for democracy, the Wilsonian Democrats. Again, I don't know how on earth anyone takes him seriously at this point. Now, my own position on the affair, I side with the New Age czar. Why? Because I live in Europe, and my knowledge of history goes beyond 2022. I do not live in the American regime, so I am not susceptible to its primitive propaganda. Again, fat fingers biting reaction. What does Russia want to do? Oh, sell us cheap and effective natural resources. Oh, the horror. What does America want to do? Oh, I don't know. Keep American troops on European soil, which is definitely not there to keep the place in line for American interests. Blow up pipelines, push for coups and proxy wars. Geez, I wonder why we aren't fans of the American empire. Probably because unlike those two, we aren't high-falating Uncle Sam. Not to mention, when I first looked into this, what to me was really odd was the voices that I found, ranging from Curtis Yarvin, Professor Mearsheimer, Glenn Greenwald, Peter Hitchens, George Kennan, Henry Kissinger, Noam Chomsky, even an English Marxist professor. A whole list of people who decorate the political spectrum, lefties, liberals, conservatives, Marxists, to even monarchists. People who would very likely never agree on anything ever, all agreed on one thing: American military expansion will be seen as a threat to Russian sovereignty. Sane people would look at that diversity of political opinions with one point of agreement and pause to ask, why? But the Adam and Sitch brain people think, oh, you aren't like us and therefore fuck off. We, with our moral superiority bestowed upon us by our precious liberal democracy, decree your sovereignty null and void. This basically might makes right, except the might in this case is a smug sense of self-righteousness powered by liberal democracy. This is how these midwits see global politics, by the way, and I'm not even kidding. But anyway, I bring receipts for my claims. I don't just pull them out of my ass. I had to make a new Twitter account just to get a look at this thread because I want to be fair, and also to justify my positions. Adam coming in, Tim Pool should stop saying that supporting Ukraine funding makes you pro-war. This is like saying if you support self-defense, you are pro-violence. Why? Because it doesn't fit your worldview and it makes you look bad optically? Spin it any way you want, neocon boy. You are on board with the rest of the warhawks. And the lack of nuance in this whole affair on his part is embarrassing. Meta Jane, by funding it, we are fueling it. If you want to fuel it, just say so. It's clear that many do. But let's not pretend that it's not a pro-war stance. Absolutely, I can't find a flaw in her logic. You are throwing money into a losing battle. You are not going to tame the Russian bear. End of story. And now Adam is going to ramp up the delusion. Funding Ukraine is a pro-self-determination stance. It's the stance that free people should not be pushed around by force. Self-determination is something libertarians once supported. Fund it with your own money then, you thieving bastard. Self-determination is something libertarians once supported. Yeah, libertarians are also isolationists, who are far more geopolitically aware than you are, seem to understand the concept of fuck around and find out, and also that your reputation on the world stage when it comes to interventionism is a grade F, who don't like to fund proxy wars at the expense of the US taxpayer, which serves them in no way whatsoever. They are not free people, and no one ever really is, especially when that freedom is funded by somebody else's money. You're not free then, you're dependent. Why this is the case, I notice you never go into. I wonder why that is. Hey Adam, how do you feel about Zelensky banning opposition parties? Well, that's not very democratic now, is it? Meta coming in. So in this situation, you are pro-war. Yes, he is. You can say I'm pro-war because I think that is a justified cause, but that doesn't change the pro-war aspect of it. Well, he could, but it's a bad look, so he won't. Just own it for what it is, and don't try and pretend it's something it's not. Believe it or not, I'm not even criticizing you for your stance. I actually understand it on many levels. I'm not here to try and change your mind. I just don't share the opinion. I am personally anti-war, and I don't want to see the US funding any of them. But more importantly, I don't want to see them fighting in any of them. Perfectly logical. Once again, what does the US taxpayer get out of this whole affair? Nothing. And Adam hitting home with the crescendo of stupidity. There's a giant difference between offensive war and defensive war that you are completely ignoring. Funny that one. You may as well define the struggle snuggle and consensual sex as the same thing. You are doing this as a rhetorical trick to be an arsehole. Everyone understands this. You are not so sneaky. And neither are you. I can't help but notice, primarily because your lack of logic is a glaring fucking eyesore, Adam, that you too are ignoring the giant difference between offensive and defensive purely when it suits your bloody worldview. And this is why so many people, including many in your own audience, think you're full of shit. The concept of provocation or escalation does not exist in the mind of Adam. No. It's very black and white. It's you're not a liberal democracy, therefore we're justified in attacking you. It really is that simple. Again, whole list of people that I mentioned earlier all agreed continued expansion of American military influence is going to cause the Russian bear to take a swipe. As if overthrowing their next-door neighbor's government, installing a new post-coup regime that is all on board with the American influence, and then proceed to chuck military hardware at them is not going to be perceived as a threat. Given America's stellar record on foreign policy, there is no sane person alive who isn't propagandized up to their doted-out eyeballs who wouldn't see this as provocation. None. It's like if someone with a bad reputation for bullying everyone in its path has been moving closer to you for, about 30 years. Are you justified in attacking first? Yes, you absolutely are justified. The offensive-defensive thing is purely on why you deem the attack just or unjust. Say if someone threatened you, but hasn't physically harmed you, just made a threat. If you strike first, purely on a physical damage perspective, you are going to look like the aggressor because you hit first. But the damage is justified and you are nevertheless still the defending party. There's one tweet that he had up where he said he believes liberal democracies is a safer world. I'm there thinking, what the hell are you smoking, you dopey git? America is a capitalist liberal democracy and it's war-hungry as sin. What world do you live in? Hey, the level of ignorant delusion is unbelievable. I can't stand these Americans who've never left their country, probably never even left their own state, who've never seen or experienced anything outside of their own borders, but feel confident in lecturing the world for not being more like them. Meanwhile, their own history is a mass graveyard and the government is full to the brim with an ungodly amount of corruption and their country is still young as sin. Open with self-determination. Here's an idea. How about you shut the hell up and let us determine for ourselves what type of ruling we want and leave us to live our own lives, you stuck-up Yankee pillock. Now piss off. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.